So I've been working on the level builder for Vibrant Venture for the last few weeks, and today I want to show you all the new things. So let's start by having a look at the objects that you can now place in your levels. Currently there are only 3 different objects available, although I will be adding way more in the future. There is the gem, the fairy bottle, and the gold balloon. To place them down, you simply left click the way you would when placing tiles. And when you're inside of erase mode, you can see how the object you're about to erase gets highlighted in red. And this is what happens when you erase the objects. Objects have some unique properties compared to tiles. First off, the objects take up a specific amount of cells on the grid, as you can see here. Some objects like the fairy bottle have to be placed on ground, and erasing the ground underneath will cause the object to be destroyed. I'll be expanding on the object in the future, so let me know what kind of object you want me to add next. And saving and loading has also been implemented for objects, so if I just go ahead and type in a level name here and hit load, you can see a different level being loaded in. Now if I just go ahead and hit F5 on my keyboard, you'll notice that the grid disappears and I'm now able to playtest the level. Once I finish the level by touching the gold balloon at the end, I'll simply be sent back into edit mode. And the same also applies if you die during playtesting. It's worth noting that despite objects like the fairy bottle taking up 2 cells, you can actually still enter play mode from inside the occupied cell above the bottle, as long as you aren't too far down. This is because it uses the collider as a frame of reference instead of just the occupied cells. And in addition to that, objects like the gems don't count as obstructions, so you can fully enter play mode even when you're on top of a gem. This concept also applies to tiles where slopes only count as obstructions when inside the collider of the tile. These features were never implemented in the old level builder, which made it quite frustrating to work on levels, as objects and tiles would often just obstruct way more space than they should. Hopefully this accurate obstruction algorithm for the new level builder will make that experience much more pleasant. In the last video I showed you guys the erase mode, which was simply a red square that showed up and you could click anywhere to erase the tile at that cell. While this works fine, it was a bit frustrating to erase large groups of tiles, so what I've done is I've reworked the erase tool completely, and so rather than being a tool, erasing is now a mode that you can toggle on or off. And when you're inside of erase mode, tools like the rectangle tool still work the same, however they now erase tiles rather than placing them down, as you can see here. This is another quality of life thing that should streamline the process of toying with design ideas when making a level, as you no longer need to spend ages erasing parts of a level if you want to redo something. I've also added one more tile brush in this update, which is the platform brush. This brush extends the functionality in the tile map library we use to create the campaign levels, and it allows you to place down platforms that connect to ground tiles, as you can see here. So if we just go ahead and have a look inside of the Unity editor itself, you'll see that there is a new folder in the level builder directory called Objects. And if we go ahead and open this up, you'll see that this contains the objects that I've shown you so far. And each of these objects contain a specialized level object class. So for example, if we open up the gold balloon has a component called gold balloon object, which determines this object's properties, for example what size it has and whether or not it's an obstruction and so on. The prefab field down here determines what object to spawn when you enter play mode. So for example if I click that, it will take us to the gold balloon object that we actually use in our own levels, and this is then the object that's going to get spawned when you enter playtesting. If I were to increase the width here, you can also see the bounding box on the left here in the prefab window change, and this is essentially how I set the size of an object. So if we just go ahead and revert that, and we go back into the objects folder here, I want to show you the gem here, which has a size of 1 by 1 because it's just a single tile in width and height. And you can also see how the is obstruction field isn't ticked because you can spawn inside of gems and they don't really obstruct you. So this is how the setup for objects work, And if we were to go into the goal balloon class here, you'll see that this derives the level object class here, which is an abstract class that all objects derive. And in the case of the goal balloon, it overrides the instantiate method because it needs to tell the goal balloon component to not transition to the end card when it's popped, which is what happens here. And so you can essentially imagine all objects being a specialization of this abstract level object class, and that just allows for way more flexibility than having a ton of methods inside one big class, because I can just define in a child class what should happen when an object is instantiated, and the object itself then takes care of that. Just to give you an idea of what the level object itself looks like, I'm going to open it up here, and down here you'll see that we have a bunch of methods for placing and erasing and so on. And this is the base method for instantiating the object, so all that's really happening is that it's just instantiating the prefab that was linked in the field that I showed you, and then it disables the preview sprite renderer. And because this method is virtual, other classes that derive the level object class can override it, which is what's happening here, and define custom behavior like I mentioned earlier. So I hope that made sense and was somewhat interesting. Let me know if you have any questions about this in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to answer them. So yeah, that's all for the second update for the Level Builder and Vibrant Venture. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to put a like on it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.